Final Cut Pro 10 has an organizational and workflow paradigm called libraries. A library is a top-level container for managing your media, edit decisions, and all associated metadata. When launching Final Cut Pro 10 for the first time, a single active library appears in the Libraries pane of the user interface. Libraries are identified by this 4-starred icon. If you click the disclosure triangle next to the library, you'll reveal an event. Events are like folders and are used for storing and organizing the media you import into Final Cut Pro. Events are identified by a single star. You can have as many libraries as you like, and they can be stored on any connected hard drive. Before we look at creating additional libraries and importing media into an event, let's first discuss what a typical library workflow might look like. Let's say you're working on a travel series about the American Southwest. A good place to start is to name your library according to the working title of the show. Click once on the default library name to select it. Then click again. Type out Discover the Southwest and press Return. The next step would be to name your events according to each episode. By default, events have a date stamp as the working name because Final Cut Pro assumes that you'll be importing your media on a specific day. Let's name this event Episode 1, Arizona. With this event clearly named, you would then import all media related to this particular episode. Let's create a few more events. Right-click on the library and choose New Event or press Option N. A window will appear asking you to name your new event. Name this one Episode 2, Utah. Whenever you create a new event, Final Cut Pro must assign it to a library, in this case the only library currently available. If you had more than one library created, you could choose a different library from the library menu. You also have the option to create a new project at the same time you create a new event. Projects are the movies you create with all the media that is stored in the event. We'll create a project in a later lesson, so leave this option unchecked. Click OK. The newly created event now appears below the first one within the master library. Let's create one more, this time only using the keyboard. Press Option N. Name the event Episode 3, Nevada, and press Return. At this point, you could continue creating and naming events, but at some point you would begin importing media into them. You'll learn how to import media in the next several lessons. One of the clear advantages of Final Cut Pro's library workflow is that you can open and close them whenever you like. I'll open a pre-existing library containing some events and projects of a time-lapse video my company has been working on. From the File menu, choose Open Library, Other. A window will appear listing all the recently opened libraries on my system. I'll select the San Francisco Time-Lapse Library. The directory path appears below the selection. If the library you're looking for does not appear in the list, you can click Locate, or you can create a fresh library by clicking New. Since I want to open the San Francisco library, I'll click Choose. The library now appears in the library sidebar. Let's take a quick peek inside this library. There are 3 separate events named after the various shooting locations around the city of San Francisco. By selecting the Bay Bridges event, for example, I can view all the clip media that was imported into that event as well as the date the clips were imported. This event also includes one project, which represents the current editing state of the movie the editor was working on. Double-clicking the project will open it into the timeline where you can skim through the movie, play it back, or continue editing. Selecting the Pier 39 event reveals a whole new set of clips and projects related to this particular shooting location. Notice there are 2 projects in this event. Double-clicking each one reveals different edits of the same Pier 39 event clips. Notice this last event, Streets of San Francisco, has clips in it related to famous streets, but the editor hasn't added any clips to this untitled project yet, which is why there's no thumbnail. Double-clicking the project reveals an empty timeline. Later, you'll create and edit your own project, but for now, just so you can see the workflow, all you need to do is drag clips from the event into the timeline to begin building your movie. Then reorder your clips, trim them, add titles and effects, and so on. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. You can also close specific libraries so that they'll appear in the Libraries pane. This is very helpful to keep your browser uncluttered with events and projects you're not working on. Closing specific libraries also comes in handy when you need to hide client-sensitive events and projects. I'll select the San Francisco Time-Lapse Library and close it from the File menu. Or I could use the 0 key to close the library, the key that we assigned in the command editor in the previous lesson. Just like that, the library is gone. To reopen the library, go to the File menu and choose Open Library. Recent libraries you've worked with will appear in a submenu. Select it, and you're back in business. Since libraries are the building blocks of everything you'll be doing in Final Cut Pro X, it's helpful to know where they live. Right-click on the Discover the Southwest Library and choose Reveal in Finder. You're taken to the directory in the Finder where the library lives. When launching Final Cut Pro for the first time, Final Cut Pro places the library in the user's Movies folder. However, libraries can live in any folder and on any drive. So you can see that a library can live anywhere, I'll right-click the San Francisco Time-Lapse Library and choose Reveal in Finder. I'm taken to the library that lives on my external drive. Regardless of how effective a database-managed application is, there is still the possibility, though extremely rare, of database corruption. This is where library backups come in. The backup libraries are stored in a folder called Final Cut Backups in your Movies folder. To open a library from a backup, go to the File menu and choose Open Library from Backup. A window will appear with a list of saved backups. Just choose the date and time you wish to backup from. The text tells you that a new copy of the library will be created and attempt to restore its original media. The current version of the library will not be affected. Final Cut Pro backs up its library databases every 15 minutes, so in a worst-case scenario, the most you would ever lose is 15 minutes of work. There is no option for changing the backup interval. Finally, when launching Final Cut Pro, you can control which library or libraries you wish to load. Hold down the Option key while clicking the Final Cut Pro app icon in the dock. An Open Library window appears. You can select a single library to open, or you can select multiple libraries by command clicking. If for some reason you did not want any libraries to load and wanted to start fresh, click the New button, then name and save the library to your hard drive. Final Cut Pro will open with only the library you created. To open other libraries, choose Open Library from the File menu.